The National Museum is a place of discovery that helps preserve our nation's heritage and culture, and so we made sure to move carefully and follow the restrictions. As we walked into the National Museum in Manila, we could not help but notice all the pieces set on display. There are so many historical exhibits on display, such as the Spoliarium Hall that houses one of the country's most well-known paintings, the Spoliarium by Juan Luna Inovicio. Another exhibit is the Gallery 1, Luis Juan Ablasa Hall, which features the Christian-themed art that was prevalent in the 17th to the 19th centuries when part of the country were under Spanish colonial rule. We also got to experience Friends for Cultural Concerns of the Philippines Incorporated Hall. This gallery, on the other hand, features 14 paintings depicting the Stations of the Cross by an unknown Bohol master from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas collection. There are a lot more gallery in the fine arts exhibitions that unfortunately we were not able to further know more about each piece's in-depth information. However, we must remember that historical exhibits and artworks are displayed for people to marvel, research, and discover. The National Museum is a treasure house of knowledge where one can learn about our history and culture through our artifacts. On to a more elaborative insight at the artworks in the museum. Did you know that the former Senate Session Hall was created as a high-ceiling reading room by American architect Ralph Harrington Doan? Architect Doan is a member of the Architectural and Urban Planning team led by Daniel Burnham and the consultant to the Bureau of Public Works. The legislative building was nearly destroyed when Americans liberated Manila in 1945, but for some reason, the Session Hall was still standing, with the exception of its finely carved mahogany ceiling, which was destroyed. A large portion of the Session Hall was able to be returned to its original condition when the newly independent post-war government set about restoring the structure. During the build-up to martial law in 1972, this is where former Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. and his opposition allies delivered privileged speeches. It was shut down when the martial law was proclaimed and eventually converted into a gallery of the National Museum for the remaining Marcos administration. After a long story, we may now observe that at the old Senate Session Hall, the monumental series of paintings by national artist Carlos Botong V. Francisco, commonly recognized as the history of Manila, is now on view on this National Museum. Mayor Antonio J. Villegas commissioned the paintings in 1968 for the Manila City Hall.
In Gallery 16 is where the next art piece is displayed. The hall is dedicated to the national artist Carlos Botong Francisco and national artist Jose P. Alcantara. The masterpiece of Alcantara, displayed in the gallery entitled Muslims Greeting Filipino Christians, as the museum tentatively called it, is a depiction of the daily lives of the country during the Spanish regime. It consists of 19 panels and one of them is displayed in the National Museum of Fine Arts. It was in 1961 when Phil and Life commissioned a set of large murals by Vicente Manansala to balance out the Phil and Life building on United Nations Avenue in Ermita, Manila. And to create a kind of counterpoint to Manansala's murals, they commissioned Alcantara, thus the birth of the art piece. In 2012, the property was acquired by SMDC, a mall and condominium developer. This raised alarm and worry among the cultural community, but it was later assured by the SMDC head that the theater would be preserved. And it wasn't that long when the plans were underway for the carvings to rejoin their old companions, the Manansalas, at the National Museum. The next art piece is located in the Gallery 29, Philippine Modern Sculpture. The hall was dedicated to Philippine modern sculptures. In the gallery, one of the rarest works of national artist Arturo Luz is on display, entitled Harana in Manila. This piece was a combined vision of Steuben glass and Luz. In 1954, the makers of the Steuben glass expressed their interest in putting together drawings of contemporary artists of the Far and Near East to represent each other's country's unique culture and tradition. Luz sent his drawing for Harana in Manila, and the Steuben Design Department devised the shape and form of the glass, thus the creation of Harana in Manila. And as depicted on the glass, the old Philippine culture of courtship can be seen.
That is all for today's vlog. Thank you all for listening.